Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
One founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai.
Se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. ब्रज भूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय. नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय. पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय. जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय. गंगा माई की जय. यमुना माई की जय. तुलसी महारानी की जय. भक्ति देवी की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishnaha Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantasto hya bhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 50. Naino ragyah praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti mena tu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vachaha. Naino ragyah praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vachaha. Naino ragyah praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vachaha. Please chant.
Naino rajna praja bhartur dharma yudhe vadhodvisham iti mena tu bodhaya kalpate shashanam vachaha.
Naino Rajya Praja Bhartur Dharma Yuddhe Vadhodvisham Iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vacha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Naino ragya praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vachaha.
Naino rajna praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vacha.
Naino ragya praja bhartur dharma yuddhe vadhodvisham iti me natu bodhaya kalpate shasanam vachaha.
नैनो रज्ना प्रजा भर्तुर्धर्मयुद्धे वधोऽसम् इति मे न तु बोधाय कल्पते शासनं वचः।
नैनो राज्य प्रजा भर्तुर्धर्मयुद्धे वधोद्विषम् इति मे न तु बोधाय कल्पते शासनं वचः।
Okay, anyone else? So we can do word to word translation. Na, never. Enaha, sins. Ragyaha, of the king. Prajabhartuhu, of one who is engaged in the maintenance of the citizens. Dharma, for the right cause. Yuddhe, in the fight. Vadhaha, killing. Dvisham, of the enemies. Iti, all these. May, for me. Na, never. Tu, but. Bodhaya, for satisfaction. Kalpate, they are meant for administration. Shasanam, injunction. Vachaha, words of. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: there is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens. But this injunction is not applicable to me. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthir thought that although he was not actually involved in the administration of the kingdom, which was being carried on well by Duryodhan without harm to the citizens, he caused the killing of so many living beings only for his personal gain of the kingdom from the hands of Duryodhan. The killing was committed not in the course of administration, but for the sake of self-aggrandizement, and as such, he thought himself responsible for all the sins. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna and good morning to all of you. Thank you very much for joining in Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 8. The chapter is entitled Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit saved. And Kunti Maharani has, after she completed her prayers, Lord Krishna smiled and accepted her prayers. And then Krishna went to take permission from the other ladies. And then Krishna prepared to leave Hastinapur. And Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling responsible for the killing of the millions of people, millions of soldiers, but also innocent members of society, like the Brahmanas, the women, the children, old men. They are all put into difficulty because of this war. Now they don't have a protector. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is seeing that there's a big sin that has been committed. And all this is committed for what purpose? Because he wanted a kingdom to rule. This is how Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling. Just because I wanted to be the king, I caused the death of so many millions of people and also so many innocent members. And he felt that even if I were to live in hell for millions and billions of years, still I will not be able to come out of the sinful reaction to such a big sin. So in this particular text, Yudhishthir Maharaj, so let's say, see, many people try to pacify Yudhishthir Maharaj. Vyasdev tried to pacify. Who is Vyasdev? Vyasdev is the author of all the Vedas, all the Puranas. Veda, the word Veda means knowledge. The other day, last Saturday, we were hearing from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Veda means any knowledge, Srila Prabhupada says. Any knowledge. And Vyasdev is giving the Vedas. So is there anything which is unknown to Vyasdev? And Vyasdev is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj, there is no sin. But Yudhishthir Maharaj couldn't be convinced. So many other sages were present. They could not convince Yudhishthir Maharaj. And by Krishna's own desire, even Krishna could not convince Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, even though he became the emperor, he was not able to pacify himself. So at the time when Krishna was about to leave for Dwarka, just at that moment, Yudhishthir Maharaj came and implored Krishna to please stay for some more time. So these few verses, the past few verses that we read, they tell us what is the state of mind, what is the state of consciousness of Yudhishthir Maharaj, how he is feeling. So we heard this from different, these verses and the classes given by the speakers before brought out the personality of Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yesterday we were hearing from Rukmini Prabhu Mataji, and she highlighted on the aspect of compassion of Yudhishthir Maharaj. How is it possible that Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling? His name is Dharmaraj. He could never do anything which is against Dharma. Still, he's feeling that this war was an act of sin on his part. So, let's say somebody one of the sages or Vyasdev told him, no, Yudhishthira Maharaj, there is no sin because you're a Kshatriya. For you, there is no sin to kill. A Kshatriya who kills on the battlefield, he will not incur any sin. So to that, Yudhishthira Maharaj is answering here. He's saying, you're right. There is no sin for a king who kills for the right cause, who is engaged in maintaining his citizens. But this injunction is not applicable to me. So yes, there is sin. I mean, there is no sin for a Kshatriya. But that injunction is not applicable to me. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport what Yudhishthira Maharaj means by that. Why is it not applicable to him? Because Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying, Duryodhan was ruling nicely. The citizens had no complaints with him. Just because I wanted the kingdom, I caused so much bloodshed. So this rule that there is no sinful reaction for a king while he is protecting the citizens, in the course of protecting the citizens, then if he has to fight and kill the enemy for the protection of the citizens, then there is no sin. But that's not the case with me. It's not that I was ruling and Duryodhan attacked me and therefore I'm fighting back and therefore I killed him. No. This is what Yudhishthira Maharaj is saying. So, Srila Prabhupada systematically explains here in Srila Prabhupada's lecture that, first of all, if you look at the shloka, Na enaha ragyaha praja bhartur. Enaha means sins. There is no sin. Ragyaha praja bhartu. Praja bhartu means maintaining the citizens. For a king who's maintaining the citizens, and in order to do that, dharma yuddhe vadho dvisham. In a dharma yuddha, that's the key word here, dharma yuddha. In a dharma yuddha, when he kills the enemy, he will not incur any sins. So what is dharma yuddha? That is the question here. What is the right cause? So Srila Prabhupada explains the right cause means if there is an aggressor. So in Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, 36th verse, Arjuna is making so many he's giving reasons to Krishna why he should not fight. He gives 5 reasons why he should not fight this battle of Kurukshetra. And amongst the other reasons, one reason is that if I killed these aggressors, we will incur sin. We will incur sin. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, who are the aggressors? There are 6 kinds of aggressors. One who gives poison, a poison giver. One who sets fire to the house. One who attacks with deadly weapons. One who plunders riches. One who occupies another's land. And one who kidnaps a wife. These are all aggressors. And such aggressors are at once to be killed. This is Dharma Shastra. So when an aggressor attacks you, one of these, he tries to take your life, he takes away your property, he occupies your land, he sets your house on fire, he kidnaps your wife, and one more. I think he sets fire. I don't know. Deadly weapons. He attacks you with deadly weapons. Then you should kill that person right away. There is no sin there. But here Yudhishthira Maharaj has an argument. But these aggressors are my family members. They are worshipable members. Like Bhishma Dev, Dronacharya, right? And my own family, my cousins, my brothers. So in that case, should we directly just kill them, or should we be compassionate to them? Because that is a higher principle. So Prabhupada makes some important points here. Krishna talks about the duty of a Kshatriya. The same question here when Arjun says that for a Kshatriya, Arjun says that we will incur sin, even though they are aggressors, but still, they're not ordinary aggressors. One is my spiritual, my martial guru. One is my grandfather and other respectable family members. They're not ordinary aggressors. So should we deal with aggressors in the same way? That was Arjun's point. So while answering this point, Krishna says that you are thinking by not fighting, you will not incur sin. Or by fighting, you will incur sin. But it is the other way around. You will incur sin if you don't fight. How is that? Because you are a Kshatriya. So you see, there are two types of Swadharma. A Swadharma means your duty. One duty is your duty as long as you're not liberated. As long as you're in this body and you're not liberated, then you have to perform your Swadharma. So this is the Varnashram Dharma. So according to your guna and karma, according to your work and according to your nature, certain duties are prescribed for each person. If you don't do your duty, then you will incur sin. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. So here we are talking about Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj is a Kshatriya. So for a Kshatriya, in order to give protection to the citizens, he has to take to violence. In fact, only the Kshatriyas are given the power, the authority to kill. The other members are not. They don't have the right to kill. The Brahmanas, the Vaishyas, Shudras, no. If they have some problem, then they bring the case to the Kshatriya, the king, the ruler. And then he resolves the dispute. And in some cases, he punishes the criminal. Or if there is a battle, in order to protect the citizens, he will kill them. This is the duty of a Kshatriya. And this fighting is because it's for the cause of dharma. What is dharma? That which is prescribed in the scriptures. So there are duties given for a Kshatriya. What are the duties of Kshatriya? We hear in Bhagavad Gita, right? So he gives protection to the citizens. So for that, when he kills, then there is no sin incurred. And there is another type of Swadharma that is on the basis of, on the platform of a spirit soul. So when one is liberated from this body, you may still be in this body, but you're liberated. Jivan Mukta. For such a person, then there is no need. He may follow in order to set example, like Janak Maharaj. In fact, even the Pandavas. So those who are liberated, for them, there is, they don't have to perform the duties of Varnashram Dharma. It's not a requirement for them. But they have other duties. So their duties are given by the spiritual master, what they are supposed to do. So in either case, you have to follow your duty. Your dharma is required. You have to stick to dharma. If you don't do your dharma, then there will be consequences. So Yudhishthir Maharaj is a Kshatriya and it was his duty to protect. And in order to protect, if he killed people, there is no sinful reaction. Now Yudhishthir Maharaj is saying, no, but they are my family members. Okay. So in that case, it's not that he didn't try for any peaceful solution. They tried in so many ways. It's not that when the kingdom was first usurped in the gambling match, immediately Yudhishthir Maharaj, declared a war against Duryodhana and just killed everyone. He could have done that. His brothers were powerful. He had his whole army in Indraprastha. They could have just rebelled against, even though in the gambling match they lost everything. Because he honored it as a gentleman, so he accepted. They insulted his wife, they insulted him and his brothers, and they were banished to the forest for 13 years. He didn't complain. And according to agreement, when they came back, they were supposed to get their kingdom back. They fulfilled all the conditions. And still they didn't get the kingdom back. Even then, there were so many negotiations made. Krishna himself personally went to Duryodhana to stop this, to prevent this battle from happening. Krishna said that you give only 5 villages, one for each of the brothers. And I give you my word that they will be satisfied with that. Duryodhana didn't want to give. And in fact, he made a statement that I cannot spare even that much land to you, which can hold the tip of a needle. That's when it was obvious that there is no alternative except a war, except a battle. Now, in that situation, would it be okay for Yudhishthir Maharaj to say, oh, he doesn't want to give anything, so let him keep this kingdom. I'll go to the forest. Would that be all right?
No.
No. Prabhupada quotes Gandhiji, because Gandhiji led this non-cooperation civil disobedience movement, non-violent, non-cooperation movement. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also led a non-cooperation movement.
Not like that.
But not like that, yeah. So in the case of Gandhi, his main principle was non-violence. Non-violence. No matter what happens, there should not be any violence. That is dharma. This is not said anywhere in the scripture. Kshatriya means when there is requirement, you should enforce. You should use your power. So Gandhi was asked, you're saying non-violence. What if somebody comes to violate your daughter's chastity in front of your eyes? Will you do something about it, or will you remain non-violent? And he said, I will be non-violent. I will tolerate. This is not dharma. This is not right. You cannot do that. Now devotees may say, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trinadapi suni chena tarorapi sahishnuna. You should be as humble as a blade of grass, as tolerant as a tree. So therefore we should tolerate. We should tolerate whatever happens. Yes, we should tolerate. We should tolerate when there is aggression on us personally. So
Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself doesn't tolerate when there's aggression on devotees.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself does not tolerate. There is a very good example for that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told us, Trinadapi suni chena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadaharihi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, if you want to get perfection in your devotional service, you tie the holy name on the string of this Trinadapi Sunichena verse and put it around your neck and always chant Hare Krishna. That will give you all perfection. But when Nityananda Prabhu was attacked by Jagai and Madhai, did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say, tolerate, just be non-violent? No. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there with his Sudarshan Chakra. I'm going to kill these two aggressors. He called for his Sudarshan Chakra. If it were not for Nityananda Prabhu, he would have killed them. Nityananda Prabhu fell on the feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, begged him, my Lord, in this incarnation, you didn't come to kill them. You came to kill their, the bad qualities that are there, not to kill the people themselves. You should give your mercy to them. Then on the plea of Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave his mercy. And then when the aggressors are personally attacking, then how does a devotee respond to that? On himself. Prahlad Maharaj, he was being tortured by his father, Hiranyakashipu, in so many ways. He was given poison, aggression, isn't it? He tried to attack him with weapons, tried to kill him by having him trampled by elephants, throwing him in pits of fire or into a place filled with serpents, snakes, throwing him into hot oil. But Prahlad Maharaj, under all circumstances, he simply depended on the Supreme Lord. Haridas Thakur, who was also Prahlad Maharaj, he was beaten in 22 marketplaces, whipped. Any person would have died after 2 marketplaces. So severe was the beating. But Haridas Thakur, he had only one prayer. He was chanting Hare Krishna and he was praying to the Lord, my Lord, please don't consider their beating me as an offense to me. Please be merciful to them. That was his only prayer. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there with Sudarshan Chakra to kill those who were beating Haridas Thakur. But he became helpless because of Haridas Thakur's prayers. But he couldn't just, he couldn't just stand there and watch his devotee being beaten up so brutally. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just fell on Haridas Thakur and took all the beatings on his back. Later on, Mahaprabhu showed his back to Haridas Thakur. When Mahaprabhu was revealing his identity, he removed his chadar and showed his back. The marks of the whip were there on his back. Because he became helpless. He couldn't do anything against the desire of the devotee. So, for ourselves, yes, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. You should tolerate all aggression. Otherwise, we won't be able to move forward in our bhakti. There will always be challenges. There will always be people who will try to attack us. So personally, we should tolerate depending on Krishna. But when you see the innocent being attacked, when you see other Vaishnavas are attacked, you cannot tolerate. That will become sin. That will become an offense. There's another nice history in ISKCON. Mother Haladini from New Vrindavan. Of course, Mataji served in different places, but from New Vrindavan, she went to Africa to serve there. I won't tell the whole thing, but while she was serving in one African country, it was under the attack. The rulers, the administration, they were all like, what would you call them? Terrorists kind of people. So they just came one morning, they just came and attacked the temple. And they called all the devotees out. And the devotees were at gunpoint. They said, we won't kill ladies. So there were two women, Haladini Mataji and another devotee. So they said, we don't kill women, so you stay aside. They were going to kill all the other devotees. And she just ran in front of these people. And she stood in front of their guns and she said, no, you cannot kill these are all devotees of Krishna. You cannot kill them. This is a great offense. I cannot just stand by and watch you kill them. She just blocked them. She knew for sure she would be killed. But she said, for you to reach them, you'll have to go past me. You'll have to kill me and then you can reach them. As long as I'm alive, you cannot kill the devotees. And they opened fire. They shot her. And then they shot the other devotees also. So this is Trinadapi Sunichena. This is Trinadapi Sunichena, humility. We can take any suffering on ourselves, but we cannot tolerate other devotees, or for that matter, innocent people, brahmanas, women, children, old men, cows. You cannot just stand by and watch them being hurt, killed. No. But for ourselves, yes, we will tolerate. We must tolerate. So that is the symptom of a Vaishnava. So again, coming back to this Dharma Yuddha. So if you are actually in the position of a Kshatriya, you are a Vaishnava, you are a devotee, but you are in the position of a Kshatriya, then everyone is looking up to you for direction, for protection. Parikshit Maharaj, in fact, they were all Rajarshis, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj. So for the protection of the people, you see how Parikshit Maharaj, he was ready to kill Kali. Kali was dressed like a king. But what was he doing? He was breaking the legs of the bull, beating the cow. And they were weeping and crying. Parikshit Maharaj immediately came with his sword to kill Kali. So, yes, where there is a need, a Vaishnava, he has to exercise power and violence for the protection of dharma, for the protection of the innocent, and ultimately for the progress of all people on the spiritual path. When you say establishing dharma, why do we need dharma? So that we can progress. So whoever is putting an obstacle there, then that obstacle has to be removed. And the Kshatriyas are specifically given this, it is their responsibility, it is their duty, they are given this power. So when they do that, there is no sin incurred. There is no sin incurred. Besides, where was this fight going on? In Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is called Dharma Kshetra. So battles were fought on Kurukshetra because it is a Dharma Kshetra. Prabhupada says when people have a dispute in villages, they go to the temple. Why? Because the temple is the place where people cannot perform any sinful activities. If they, even in courts in India, when you have to make a statement, they bring a Bhagavad Gita. They say, touch the Bhagavad Gita and now you make your statement. Right? You cannot lie touching the Bhagavad Gita. It is a scripture. It is, you're coming in the presence of the Supreme Lord. You cannot commit a sinful activity in the presence of the Supreme Lord. You know the serious consequences you get. So the battle is being fought in Kurukshetra, which is Kurukshetre, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yutsavaha. Kurukshetra is Dharma Kshetra. And on top of that, the father of Dharma, Krishna was personally present there. Under his supervision, this battle was being fought. So where is there any question of adharma or sin? It's not possible. Even those who are fighting on the side of Duryodhan, because they died in the presence of Krishna, they all got liberated. Where is the question of any sin there? Of course, Yudhishthir Maharaj knows all this, but by Krishna's desire, because when Krishna does something, he achieves so many things through one act. So Krishna wanted that Yudhishthir Maharaj should not be pacified, not even by him. Because later when he hears from Bhishma Dev, now Krishna wants to glorify Bhishma Dev also. And then Yudhishthir Maharaj will be pacified. A dying man will never speak a lie. And when Yudhishthir Maharaj hears from Bhishma Dev, who's about to leave his body, is completely convinced. But this is Krishna's arrangement. Krishna wanted that Yudhishthir Maharaj not be pacified now, so that he can hear from Bhishma Dev later on. But here we get to see the character of Yudhishthir Maharaj. His humility, his compassion, these things are shown in how he is thinking. That this verse is talking about what is humility. Just like a devotee will, personally, he will tolerate any type of aggression on him. Yudhishthir Maharaj is thinking in the same lines. He's thinking, this is not applicable to me. What you're saying, that there's no sin, that's not applicable to me. This is the humility of Yudhishthir Maharaj. So, yeah. I think I'll stop here. If there's any discussions, we can have some questions and answers discussions now.
Aditi Lata Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, wonderful class as usual, always. But I have one question. This question is forever in my mind. As we understand that just now, as beautifully you explained, that Yudhishthir Maharaj is not, we should be following this principle of Trinadapi Sunichana for ourselves. We have to be tolerant. But when it is happening to someone else, we have to fight. That is what real dharma is.
Yeah.
So Yudhishthir Maharaj, being such an elevated Dharmaraj, he should also, I always feel that he should be protesting for Draupadi, because Draupadi may be his wife, but she's an individual. She's a different individual. She's a different individual person. So when something wrong was happening in front of his eyes to his brothers, even his wife, they're all a different entity. They are also devotee of Krishna. So he should have actually started the fight then, instead of waiting. So even Krishna, I understand Krishna also later on, showed his displeasure in this decision of being quiet and following the dharma in that way, thinking that I have to follow their instruction that way. How can you explain this matter?
Yudhishthir Maharaj can never do anything which is against dharma. He cannot do anything which is against dharma. At great personal suffering, inconvenience. And when you say personal, his brothers and his wife he saw them also as extensions of him. For the sake of dharma, he underwent a lot of suffering. So you're saying that, is it dharma to allow one's wife to be insulted in front of your eyes and to just watch? By that time, he had already become a slave of Duryodhana. As per the conditions of the gambling match. So a slave has no freedom. He was completely powerful. He was, the 5 of them were sufficient to kill everyone then and there. And they could have. Bhimsen, it was so hard to even stop Bhimsen. He was ready to go and just beat them up into pulp right there. But Yudhishthir Maharaj didn't allow that. Because according to dharma, right? Because that was the agreement made. Now you may say why he even entered into the gambling match. Again, that is also a rule for Kshatriya. If you're invited for a gambling match, you cannot go back on that. Although at the beginning of the match, some discussion went on about, how it is not proper to gamble and things like that. But when the other party was just challenging as a Kshatriya, he could not, it wouldn't be according to dharma to say no. So whatever he did was perfectly according to dharma. It was not adharma. So the point why he didn't fight then and there, because he was already a slave. He couldn't do it. Yeah, then the question is, how can, if he's a slave, that means he doesn't possess anything. How can he stake his wife after he becomes a slave? That was the question. Because the wife is also considered part of yourself. Right? Half of you is your wife. That's how he staked her. But you don't have any power on your own body when you become a slave. So he didn't have any power to protect himself or his wife like that. I don't know if that answered. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yes, Mataji. But this is dharma. This dharma is related to our material body,
Yes,
and material
Dharma
life.
Shastra. Yes.
Dharma Shastra. So above this also there is another dharma which Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. So that is our eternal dharma. So he being a dharma raj, how come he doesn't follow that dharma and following this material dharma?
Because he's a king, and a king has to set the right example for the people. Not everyone in the kingdom, like when you say we are talking about devotees, but if you talk about all the population in the city or in the state or in the country, you cannot just enforce it on everyone that everyone should start chanting Hare Krishna. But you can enforce laws on the people saying that you have to keep to right or you have to keep to left, one of, like that, or you cannot kill someone, you cannot murder. This is Dharma Shastra. You cannot break Dharma Shastra. Why you cannot enforce bhakti on people? Because Krishna doesn't force. Krishna doesn't force. So you'll have to make that choice. But there's no choice for Dharma Shastra. If you don't do it, then you get reaction here. You get a sinful reaction and you have to suffer. So yes, Yudhishthir Maharaj was a Vaishnava. So why he is following the Dharma Shastra more than Trinadapi Sunichena and, directly, because he's setting an example for the people. How to, to have that integrity. So we see this in the case of many kings. They are great Vaishnavas, But to set an example for the people, they perfectly follow the dharma of a kshatriya, of a king, like that. To set an example, because people will see this and they themselves will adhere to dharma. And by doing that, they will progress. Now, in case of bhakti, it is not visible. It's a state of consciousness. So if I say, because I'm a devotee, I don't need to follow the rules and regulations, the prescribed duties of Kshatriya, Vaishya, I don't have to follow. What the citizens are seeing is what you're doing. They're not able to see your consciousness. So they will see, oh, the king doesn't follow, so we also don't have to follow. But the king's consciousness is different. He is making progress. But the people who don't have that type of consciousness and they don't even follow dharma, they're all going to hell. So just for the sake of the people in general, to help in their gradual progress, the king follows dharma. He adheres to the dharma shastras.
Thank you, Mataji. Beautifully answered. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, as usual. Good class, But I have one doubt, like Aditi Lata Mataji said. When a husband, I can imagine what dharma you're talking about, everything. That's fine. Say with Yudhishthira Maharaj, he's not Dharmaraj. That's a name for him also. That's a Dharmaraj. He doesn't follow any other things other than dharma. But when he married to a lady, so when at the marriage, what they promise, dharmecha adhecha nati charami. At the promise at the Havan, they do that. In whatever this thing, and I think priests say that, and they hold the hand, and they say that whatever comes, I won't leave her. Not leaving her, but I will protect her too. So dharma is fine. He according to Yudhishthira Maharaj, dharma is fine, and whatever he did, everything was fine. He is Kshatriya, he did, everything is fine. But come to his wife, when it's happening in that full sabha. So what is the protection she has immediately? Of course, at the end, she said, Sarvadharman Parityaja, she said, left it to Krishna, and then he came and saved her. But, for instance, in a normal person, how can it be? How to think about it?
Well, his duty towards his wife, the vows that he takes to protect his wife, that is also according to dharma.
Yeah.
That is also dharma. And when he gives a word, to adhere by that word is also dharma. So now which dharma is superior? Right? Because in that state he actually became a slave. And that is also
Dharma.
Following the condition, he's adhering to dharma there. So after he became a slave, he voluntarily gave up his power to give protection to anyone. He became a slave.
But Draupadi, she didn't do anything wrong, but she has to be protected. Is that right? 5 husbands.
She has to be protected, but now, so therefore Prabhupada says that the duty is for a kshatriya, right? The protection, giving protection is the dharma of a kshatriya. So when there is any problem, the issue is brought to the kshatriya for protection. But at that moment, he was deprived of his position. He was not a ruler anymore. He was a slave of Duryodhana. Of course, this is completely how Duryodhana did it. It was completely cheating. But just look at the character of Yudhishthira Maharaj, that even though they were cheating, still because he made that agreement, he agreed to it, he adhered to it till the end. And of course, the whole Mahabharata, the different incidents that happen, they are meant to give us lessons, so many lessons. So this is also a lesson, don't depend on anyone else in this world, your husband, your father. They can only come up to a certain point. They're all fallible. The only infallible person is Krishna, and he will never fail. So when Draupadi called out, "Hey Krishna, Govinda, save me," and Krishna came and saved right away. She called out, "Oh Yudhishthir, oh Bhima, oh Arjun, save me." They were not able to do, although they were powerful, capable. See how we can become so, in spite of having everything, still we can become completely helpless. So that's the difference between us and the Supreme Lord. So better take shelter of the Supreme Lord. That's a lesson.
That is true. But as a brother, he is Yudhishthira Maharaj is Dharmaraj, of course, I can understand. But he stopped his brothers also not to.
They also were slaves. First, he lost all of them, and then he lost himself. So now they were all slaves of their master. So dharma is when you have a master, until and unless your master calls you for food, you don't even eat anything. So you're a slave. What to do? So yeah, it's the intricacies of dharma, right? They're very difficult to follow. But Yudhishthira Maharaj is, his Dharmaraj, he knows. So if he has decided that, that means it must be right. Yeah, that much confidence I have, because Yudhishthira Maharaj did it. So it must be according to dharma.
Sarva dharman parityajya.
That's best. Sarva dharman parityajya is best. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mataji. What I am thinking is, this is how far we have gotten away from actual knowledge, actual truth. And it is so difficult for us to understand, because we still are understanding everything through this material, through this lens of ignorance. You gave wonderful explanations, but it is still so difficult to absorb it because we are still so clouded with ignorance. But you explained very clearly what we should try to understand, where we should put our faith. And the last sentence that you said, if Yudhishthira Maharaj did it, it must be according to dharma. Faith, that's where it is. And if there is difficulty, we need to think of it as, I am having difficulty understanding it. Not that there could be something. It's good to question, because if we don't question, how will we even understand and know where to go and where to look and how to understand. But if I don't understand, I'll just have to say, okay, I did not understand it, but that's where the truth is.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. Like you were saying, these scriptures are there for us to become better devotees first. That's the goal. But before that, I think becoming better citizens, better, and how important it is to hold on to that dharma and to understand what that real dharma is. Listening to these last few classes has been just amazing. The verse itself, the purports, the speakers, a lot to think about.
But one thing, Mataji, in Kali Yuga, they say dharma is on one leg only.
Yes.
So in that case, in a lot of these things, these rapes and other things are happening. And that is, so dharma is not there at all now. Totally, almost last stage it is there. So that is another side.
We should remember there's also karma, Mataji.
Then karma comes.
No, karma is there already.
Karma is
So
there.
we are getting the results of our karma. But there is always hope. By the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you take shelter of the Supreme Lord through chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Whatever your karma, it's all squared up. So you don't have to worry about that.
That's
You
all.
just simply focus on Krishna consciousness. But those who don't take to Krishna consciousness, they have to deal with karma. There's no escaping. Like that. And the reason we are coming to this state is because we are not following dharma, right? We have sinful karma, karmic reactions means we didn't follow dharma. That's why we are all there in Kali Yuga, right? All the dharmic people, they all went back, right? All the adharmis are remaining here. But the mercy of Gaurnitai, right? He's come to deliver the most fallen adharmis, giving them a very easy pass. Just chant Hare Krishna, go back.
Yesterday I was talking to my husband's cousins and I said, previously those years, they used to live 400 years like that. She said, oh God, even 100 years, some people lived 100 years. No, I'm not there. I'm not going there. I said, it's not in your hands. But 100 years now, in Kali Yuga, it's getting harder.
Yes.
So 400 years. So Dharma was there a little bit, but we don't have it.
Yeah, also 400 years doesn't mean that, you're already old and the remaining 300 years. It's not like that.
No.
So, yeah.
Thank you very much for a nice class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for joining today. Hare Krishna. Any announcements, Mataji, Prabhuji?
I don't have any announcements except that we will meet again tomorrow morning at 7:50, and then there's Sunday feast tomorrow evening. Hare Krishna.
Kalpatarupyasya,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody.